you showing off here?
So this is my homebrew game, CubeCat, and I made a version of Peach's Castle from Mario 64 that runs on the Saturn.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Awesome.
So just sort of a tech demo of how my engine is currently running.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You had to like write that in assembly?
C mostly. There's some inline assembly in the polygon functions, but 90% C.
Again? It's so
yeah. So I've got sort of a fake reflection from the clouds. It's a VDP2 plane, which is like Saturn's background processor. It can do sort of Mode 7-like effects like Super Nintendo planes. So that's what the water is. And then I can do transparency with the polygons. So
that's really nice.
Yeah. This demo is sort of a tech demo for my new rendering pipeline, essentially, that I'm using to test out different features.
Oh, very nice. Yo, keep it up. That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Yeah.
Love it.
It's adorable.
Those transparencies look really good.
So it's like 3 different layers of transparency now. You've got the sky, you've got the water, and you've got the underwater.
That's definitely Peach's Castle.
Yeah. I've just been trying to get the draw distance with a lower level of detail so that you can see the entire thing at once. And that is tricky. The Saturn is not happy about it. Infinite plane. There's you can sort of see the draw distance fade out. It sort of fades to flat polygons far away.
How often do you wind up tweaking the engine for CubeCat?
How often do I end up tweaking the engine? It's constant.
Really?
Yeah, it's sort of as I'm developing it. Basically, the last year and a half has gone into completely rebuilding the engine, like since the last contest release.
You started over.
I mean, I'd say like 70%, like all the rendering stuff is, I went sort of deeper, so I'm not using the default SGL library functions anymore for rendering. I'm doing everything directly myself, and that took a while to get working, and since I have full control over it, whenever I want to make like tweaks and think, oh, this would be a cool idea, I try to put that in. Yeah.
That's just outstanding, dude. So it's all you. There's no base SGL engine. It's yours.
So SGL is still in there doing the matrix math functions. Inject the polygons from your pipeline right before the final sort that SGL does, and then SGL does the sort and moves it over to
I hope so.
the VDP1 renderer.
Got it, okay.
So yeah, I've been trying, at the moment, all the polygon math is running on the slave processor, and then the main processor handles the game. And I've got it running at a decent speed right now with this draw distance.
I was going to say the frame rate's not bad at all.
A little bit of slowdown here and there, but you know, especially I get some CPU bottlenecks when you get the whole thing on screen like this, but
what inspired you to throw in Peach's Castle into CubeCat? Just to prove you could do it?
Yeah, basically. It was like I wanted something that was like larger scale than some of my other models and levels to like stress the engine and see where my bottlenecks were. And Peach's Castle is one of those iconic like first 3D maps that you think of where it's like, oh, could you get this running? Yeah, let's go over here.
Do you find it's easier to have a level running where it's just little islands on a PDP plane instead of this?
Yes, absolutely. This is a lot more stressful for VDP1 than the little islands. like that was one of the initial like design constraints I put on myself. I was like, okay, I'll make just the islands on the VDP2 plane so that there can be at least some space where VDP1 doesn't have to draw like pixels. Trying to fill the entire screen with VDP1 in 3D, especially with a dynamic camera, is just like really tricky to maintain a consistent frame rate. Like, it's like you look at one angle and everything's running fine, 30 FPS, no problem, and then the camera moves a little bit and suddenly everything slows down, and it's like, okay, where can I make tweaks? Where can I fix things up? You can sort of see I greatly extended the power of the dash move. You can like sort of do it in midair now and kind of like aim yourself. And I'm hoping to get some more gameplay tweaks in there to make it as fun as possible to hit the yarn around.
Nice. Do you think VDP1 is like a capable video processor? Like a lot of people give it crap for not being able to load as much. Do you think it's good, or did you really have a tough time getting it to pump this out?
You know, I think it's sort of right on the edge, which is why I think a lot of developers had trouble with it. Like, you can push it and it's doing great, and it's like, oh yeah, this is like easy peasy, and then suddenly you snag on a weird camera angle or the polygons, like, because it's fill rate, right? That's like the main bottleneck. So it's like, it doesn't matter how many polygons you're drawing if you have them all right up in your face at once. Suddenly VDP2 has a way harder time than that's why I think like fighting games and things with fixed camera angles where all the polygons can be like mostly the same size on the screen at a time, that's where you can get the 60 FPS games. But I don't think it's possible to really hit a stable 60 FPS with like a full dynamic camera in a 3D world.
Do you plan on making like a full CubeCat with like the amount of levels you'd expect in a fully released 3D platformer at any point?
I am.
Okay.
Nice. I am constantly thinking about it, and I have a notebook of ideas. There's sort of a general layout for it. I'm thinking kind of Crash Bandicoot 2 style level system where you're like in a hub and you can go into a couple levels per area or something.
Nice.
That would be in my mind, that's like the final form of CubeCat.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Does our cute friend have any new moves?
At the moment, it's just this dash. I've sort of powered it up, and at the moment you can like just aim in midair anywhere you want. It's not going to be that powerful, but I really want to sort of play with the idea of having good air control and like aiming at maybe targets or different things that you can hit, and sort of extending the idea of hitting the yarn ball to hitting more objects in the level, like even the enemies, like the rats. If you could bump into you can like bump into the rats and then knock them just like you would the yarn ball. But that's hopefully those features will all be in the demo this year. They're not all running yet, but that's sort of where I'm aiming for. For folks just getting started, my top advice would be start small. Always start small with something that you think you can reasonably produce and get done in an amount of time. Don't try to throw everything at the wall at once. Use Joe Engine when you're starting probably, or failing that SGL, just because they help take care of all the transferring data between the different processors and things, so you don't have to worry about it as much. And yeah, I think there's some tutorials out there now. I think Emerald Nova might have some SGL tutorials up on his website.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of different things. And use VDP2 for something cool, because it's there, so you might as well.
Right? Hit some infinite planes.
Yeah.
You said start small, but like, how did you get started? Because CubeCat's not small. I mean, that's one of the biggest like deal homebrew projects on Saturn.
CubeCat isn't small, but it originally was. And when I say that, I mean I don't mean like you can't have like dreams and a plan for the future, but pick out like little like concrete goals that you're going to get to. Like, I didn't know anything about C programming or anything when I started.
Really? Wow.
But when I started was years and years ago. Like, several years, 2 years before I even put out a demo online, I was like interested in the scene and was like, how can I sort of start to get into that? And I started small. I was like, okay, what can I do? I can make a cube in 3D space, and maybe I'll make it so the direction buttons control its movement over this plane. And then I did it, and it's like, oh, I can control this now. Now I'll maybe try to make like some level geometry. Maybe I'll try to like figure out what collision detection algorithms look like, do research on that, and just slowly built it up from there.
So you just kind of took it step by step, not trying to do everything at once, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense. And you said several years ago, when did you start like learning to program and start doing CubeCat on Saturn and such?
Oh my gosh.
What year, roughly?
2018 maybe was when I first started, and then 2020 was when I released the first CubeCat demo. Like, it was a couple years there where, I mean, I wasn't like constantly working on it, of course, just like on and off hobby thing, and then it like sort of snowballs and you're working on it more and more and more, and it's like spending all of your free time on it. But at first I was just sort of experimenting, trying to familiarize myself with like programming languages in general, because I hadn't really done much coding before that. And yeah, you definitely can start from zero, but it might take a lot of time. So.
How do you feel playing a Saturn Homebrew game in Peach's Castle on a Pluto?
It's a pretty crazy combination, I've got to say. I would not have put that on my bingo card.
When do you think the full game might come out? Undetermined.
Oh my gosh, undetermined. I look forward to seeing what everyone does for the contest this year.